Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
Yeah, hey, this is John Ratzberger. You're listening to HANradio.com.
Back with you at 2:18 on Nutmeg Sports for a Tuesday edition. I'm Rob Adams. Mike Suppy alongside me today for the show, and some exciting stuff going on yesterday. And boy, what a ball game we saw. I know you were not with us yesterday. What'd you see yesterday?
Yesterday, I was an open date for me, so I didn't see anything yesterday. But I did watch the highlights of that one, and it seemed like a real barn burner down there, despite the clay swirling. Yeah,
the dust was certainly he became Dusty Kovac by the end of the day yesterday, which was kind of fitting for him. But in any event, I want to go kind of through that game, and certainly we want to show you the video. Give Jenny and Josh a chance to get that video all set to go. I think they've got it, but let's recap. Let's just take a moment to kind of roll back through it, because this. As I've said several times, and I said it during yesterday's game, it was a very mundane game at first. Greenwich had a 1-0 lead, an unearned run in the top of the first inning, and it stayed that way, and it stayed that way through the third inning. It looked like Mike Gennaro, the starting pitcher for Greenwich, was going to cruise right along. In fact, he had only allowed 5 hits through 6 innings of work. In the third, Greenwich got a walk, a base hit, a fielder's choice, an error, a couple of errors thrown in the mix by the Rams, and that made it 3-0 as both Colin Kelly and Devin McGrath came around to score, and it's a 3-0 ball game. Looked pretty good for Greenwich early on, at least. Into the fourth we go, on to the fifth we go. New Canaan does get on the scoreboard. A single by David Giusti with Clark Newlove on base, and then a single by Robbie Jones. Keep that name in mind, and suddenly it was 3-1. Stayed that way until the seventh, and it looked like Greenwich put it away, to be quite honest with you, in the top of the seventh, as Greenwich came up with 2 more. A walk to Colin Kelly, another walk to Kevin Woodring, and Anthony Ferraro RBI single brought in 1 run, and then eventually a walk brought in another run. Greenwich did wind up leaving the bases loaded. In fact, they stranded 11 in the ball game, and that's a factor in this as well. But Greenwich goes to the bottom of the 7th inning in a 5-1 lead. I mean, looks pretty good right there. Not so fast as we turn the scorecard to the bottom of the 7th inning, and what a job by the New Canaan Rams. A never say die attitude. A Tom Williams single, a Matt Berger single, a walk to Tom Reynolds. Then David Giusti hit into a 4-6-3 double play, and the Cardinals certainly felt like they had the ball game in hand. But the run did score to make it, at that point, to make it, let's see. No, I'm actually an inning ahead. Excuse me. We'll start over. 7th inning, Matt Berger a double, a ground out by Mike Pelly, then an infield single by Giusti brought home 1 run. Robbie Jones singled. Kyle Levasseur singled. That brought home another run. Then Zach Smith, a 2 RBI single, tied the game up right there. They got an intentional walk, runners on first and second now with 1 out, and Kane Curtin hit into a 6-4-3 double play. Okay, let's take it ahead to the 8th, where I started to go through it all. 8th inning, Alex Leparco leads off with a triple. Colin Kelly, a sacrifice fly. Now it is 6-5. Devin McGrath walks, steals 2 bases in the process. Kevin Woodring, a sacrifice fly. On comes McGrath. 2 runs in. It's 7-5. Looks pretty good, right? Now let's go back to the bottom of the 8th, which I started reading to you a moment ago. Tom Williams a single, Matt Berger a single, the walk to Reynolds, and then as I mentioned, the 4-6-3 double play off the bat of Giusti brought home Williams. That set us all up right there, and this is pretty amazing stuff. Right there, we are at 7-6, and it sets everything up for some great dramatics. Let's see if Jenny and I can keep things
down.
up.
They're a strike away. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Last of the 8th. Extra innings, 7-6 Greenwich. The 1-2 now time called. Langen ready. He toes the rubber. The right-hander standing straight toward home plate. Gets his sign from Jason Capozza. Here comes the 1-2. And a high fly ball to right. Back goes Minnie. He looks. It is gone! Ferraro turned and looked at it. It's a walk-off, 2-run homer in the bottom of the 8th. And New Canaan knocks off Greenwich 8-7.
Just bedlam in front of us, Rob.
Robbie Jones started this day. He was looking at being the losing pitcher early on, and then he ends the day with a 2-run shot to right, and New Canaan wins 8-7. Greenwich down, they're a strike away. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out.
What a game, what a finish. Robbie Jones with the 2-run homer. We had him on after the game, and I asked him, figuring to myself the answer is no, he's never had an experience like that before, but very humble and very, cool as can be. He said, oh, yeah, I've had it happen before. It happened in Little League. So good for him. How cool is, Mike, how great is that? That's every kid's dream.
Yeah, you can't beat that, a walk-off home run, and even bigger for New Canaan. It's a big bounce-back victory for them after falling in a tough 5-2 on the Staples prior to that on Friday. So it's a good bounce-back win for them for sure.
I can't help but feel for the Cardinals, though. You blow a 5-1 lead, and then you blow a 7-5 lead, and you wind up ultimately losing the game.
To paraphrase our friends Susan Waldman and John Sterling, that's baseball. you got to fight down to that last strike, and it didn't go their way that time, but I'm sure next time when they're in that situation, maybe they'll bear down a little harder, maybe.
I can't resist. Well, Susan, that's baseball for you. That's why they play the games. You just can't predict it.
The sun will come up tomorrow. Another classic Sterling.
Exactly right. So hopefully he doesn't sing it, though. You never know.
2:24
here on Nutmeg Sports. So it was a pretty wild finish at Meade Park yesterday, and we were happy to bring it to you. And the funny thing is, and you talk about that's baseball for you and that's sports for you, somewhere in the mix of getting ready for yesterday's game, I think I said it to both Dave Stewart and I say it to John Kovach as well, Wilton and Darien both played one another yesterday, and we had them in a scrimmage to start our baseball coverage in early April. And that looked like a couple of good teams there, and they have both had good seasons. So my thinking was it would be a good game when they got back together yesterday, and not so much. Darien absolutely blasted them right out. So Stephen Barston pitched an outstanding game for the Darien Blue Wave, who look in good shape right now in the FCAC. They remain perfect. Wilton got knocked down a peg yesterday, and Tim Egan and company have a little regrouping to do.
Yeah, Darien, I think that's 5 games in a row where they've hit double figures, putting up some crooked numbers there, and they've won 12 in a row. Certainly a team to be reckoned with come state tournament time, and obviously FCACs.
Yeah, the last time I saw the Blue Wave was up at Dodd Stadium in Norwich, and they were very unimpressive that day. They played clearly their worst game of the season, booting the ball around a bit, and I didn't know if the stage was too big for them or it was just one of those games. I didn't get the feeling that the Norwich Free Academy Wildcats were that much better than the Blue Wave, but on that day they were.
Yeah, NFA sitting right behind Darien in the Double L rankings at 12-2. They've recently, they lost their last game to Ledyard, but they prior to that had won about 11 straight. So, NFA was certainly a team that is going to want to prove that wasn't a fluke. Possibly when state tournament time rolls around, and they could see each other possibly matching up again. And
it's hard to believe how close we are to the state tournament. Of course, we've got the conference tournament first, and hopefully no one gets offended. They're going to play the conference tournament in baseball. I hope that's okay with everyone.
You never know. Are they going to play it? Are we sure?
The thinking is, at least in the FCAC, that they'll play it because, doggone it, I'm going to be there doing the play-by-play on it. And just really about 2 weeks' time, we're looking at the softball championship over at Sacred Heart, and then we're looking at all the baseball, certainly the baseball taking place at Harbor Yard, which will just be, I think it's going to be a great tournament. As I said to Dave Stewart yesterday, and I don't know how you feel about it from, you're in more of an FCAC outsider, but I think the FCAC tournament that we will have here on HAN will be outstanding.
Yeah, it's usually very competitive, and I know the teams that are in it to win it, where maybe some of the other tournaments, some of the other teams that are in various league tournaments probably are not as focused on it, but I know that there's a big pride factor going on with the FCAC tournament, and it's always very competitive.
So it should be a good time when that comes along. Softball's going to be interesting as well, although I have I'm struggling to find the team that's going to beat St. Joe's, and certainly after what we saw of St. Joe's last Friday, they look so good. I was really impressed by them. And, of course, so much of that was a result of what Nicole Williams did on the mound with the 12 strikeouts and the 2-hitter that she pitched, allowing that 1 run in the 7th inning. But St. Joe's just looks like they are the dominant team to beat, and I fully expect to see them at Sacred Heart in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'd be stunned if they weren't there. They have a really good approach, in my opinion. They're very workmanlike. They weren't too wrapped up in the rivalry between themselves and Trumbull. They take it, I know it's cliche, one game at a time, but they take it one game at a time, and you can see that approach. 1 through 9 in their lineup. Every person's out there doing their job, and it's producing, very good results for Coach Babineau and company there.
Yeah, the shame of it is I don't think that Trumbull was a particularly bad softball team. They just, went up against the best team in the league, and, St. Joe's took it to them. And, of course, as I said, arguably the best pitcher in the FCAC just absolutely dominated the Trumbull Eagles there. It's 2:28 here on Nutmeg Sports. Number to dial, by the way, 203-442-9055. We love to talk a little sports with you. Anything's at play. When you're a caller, anything's at play. Are we a locally based show? Absolutely, but that doesn't mean we shy away from anything else being talked about. And, of course, if you're a sports fan, you're a hockey fan, you're only, less than 48 hours away from dropping the puck in Game 7 between the Rangers and Caps. I can see where folks get fired up about that. Certainly the Yankees are a story right now as well as they're playing. I mean, is A-Rod, surpassing what you thought he would be? I think he's putting up some pretty good numbers. The Michael Pineda performance the other day, now some are saying that, don't ignore Pineda when in the discussion of the best pitchers in New York, because, it's all about Matt Harvey, but Michael Pineda certainly doing an outstanding job, 16 strikeouts on Sunday against the Orioles. So what I'm saying is all of these topics are at play. Certainly Deflategate, and we broke that yesterday here on HAN Radio as the news came across. We talked about it during the baseball game. Spend a minute on that. What did you think? Is the punishment fit the crime? Is it too much? Will it get reduced?
I feel like the suspension will probably be reduced. I don't see the fine or the draft pick forfeiture being reduced, but they're being treated like the repeat offenders that they are. So all the lip service that Bob Kraft and Don Yee, Brady's agents, want to bring up, and I could do without guys like LeGarrette Blount complaining about it being unfair when, as a guy who's been suspended numerous times and quit on a former team, when he's the arbiter of justice, it doesn't ring very true to me. But you get what you deserve. The Patriots their organizational mantra seems to be to push the line as far as they can go, and sometimes that blows up in your face, and it did, and they should accept their punishment, which they won't.
Yeah, LeGarrette, as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, looking right here into the camera, pipe down, please, okay? Because you didn't do yourself any favors in Pittsburgh, and we're certainly not going to defend you while you're sitting out in New England with a Super Bowl championship. In fact, really no football fan is really going to be all that protective of the New England Patriots. Now, I do think this whole thing turned into much ado about nothing, but it once again is an indication that the Patriots will find a way to skirt, and that doesn't diminish, to me, it doesn't diminish their greatness. They've won these Super Bowls legitimately. They've been to these Super Bowls legitimately. But, there is a little bit of a scar on it now. But to me, I'm not going to take away from Tom Brady and his accomplishments any more than I'm going to take away from Bill Belichick.
No, and it's just my biggest issue with it is just the sanctimonious attitude of Bob Kraft and the rest of their organization, that they're above reproach and the NFL should be apologizing to them when Bob Kraft should be on there apologizing to the NFL. After all that, but Goodell couldn't afford to look like he was going soft on his best buddy there, and he obviously didn't. And I'm sure this is going to push the owners to try to get him removed from all the disciplinary process, which is what they've been working towards anyway. But, we'll see what happens, like I said.
I'll stay consistent because I expect to be wrong based on, what Mike and John and some others have said. I still think Brady's going to get the full 4 games, but a lot of people think that's going to get back down to 2, and I understand why. There is a little bit of a history to it. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like, as you said, Bob Kraft and Roger Goodell, the Emperor, are good buddies. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like Brady's going to pay the price on this one, and it's going to be a 4-game suspension, but we'll see.
Yeah, time will tell, and I thought it was interesting that the report fully exonerated Belichick on there, which a control freak like that, you're not going to convince me that he didn't know what was going on, but
Now,
that's either here nor there now.
One guy that's gone kind of easy on Tom Brady is Peyton Manning, because, they've got this relationship, and Peyton's a classy guy. I think we all agree on that one. Not everyone loves Peyton per se. I happen to think he's tremendous. He's a tremendous quarterback, and obviously a very entertaining guy. And I think he's a Jeter-trained type of guy in that he says all the right things. And to that extent, Eli Manning also tends to say a lot of the right things. And Eli's such a harmless guy. I kind of like him. I'm not a Giants fan, but I do kind of like him. The Lewisboro Ledger was actually at an event with Guiding Eyes for the Blind, which is a wonderful organization out of New York. It's actually based out of Yorktown, New York, and they've done wonderful work over the years training guide dogs for folks who are visually impaired, and they've been around many, many years. I've driven past, and I live not too far from there. So they have done some remarkable work over the years, and the Lewisboro Ledger was there with Eli Manning. Just happened to be, kind of serendipitous, right place, right time, and they were able to get some audio and some video of Eli. Let's see if we can cue that up for you right now.
They were so great with the kids, and like I said, when I left, everybody was all smiles going up there, and at the facility driving home, everybody was all tears because they didn't get to take any puppies home with them, which lasted about 4 days until we had our third daughter, and that kept them satisfied for the last few months.
Eli, there's some breaking news that they just announced that Tom Brady's going to be suspended 4 games. What's your reaction to that?
I guess I kind of know what you know, and I've seen some of the reports and seen what's been written in the paper, and obviously it didn't look good, and figured something like this may happen, but I guess Tom's been a friend of mine. I don't like to see anybody getting suspended. I don't like to see anybody get in trouble. I don't like to see anything happen to the NFL or to a player or to another quarterback. So I guess I'm no way am I glad to see this happen.
Are you at all bothered by what he's accused of doing? I mean, it is kind of an integrity of the game issue.
I don't know what. Obviously, if he's accused, and obviously, the football, I think it is about integrity, and you have to follow the rules. And so, if someone's breaking rules, I understand, you're going to get punished for it.
He got 4 games. They lost the first round pick next year. They lost the 4th round pick, and they lost $1 million. So, pretty big statement.
I mean, anytime you lose a starting quarterback for 4 games as draft picks, it's a pretty big statement, and obviously the NFL is serious about not messing with the integrity of the game, no matter how big or little the issue is.
Do you think it at all taints his legacy or their titles?
I don't know. I haven't thought much about it, but no, I think Tom's he's still one of the best in the business, and around. They were so great with
that along. That's I couldn't help. If you were watching on HAN on our video feed, I'm actually kind of chuckling as I'm looking at Tom Brady cradling this puppy in his arms, Mike. Just as he's talking about it, it's kind of a strange image there.
Yeah, it was very a lot of juxtaposition there with that. But Eli's not going to step on any toes.
No.
That's not his style. But I also was trying to picture in my mind like Eli nefariously trying to tinker with the ball before the game. It wouldn't take, because that's not something. He just reminds me of an old time backyard chucker that is going to take whatever ball they put out there and just throw it around. And I don't think he's thinking about the game on that level.
Exactly. In lieu of a break, we're going to stay right here since we've got a caller on the line and a friend of the program and a great friend of HAN Radio as well. The athletic director from Fairfield Ludlow, Dave Schultz, is on the line, and he's going to become the next executive secretary of the FCAC in 2016. Dave, it's Rob Adams and Mike Suppy. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thank you, and congratulations on this new title.
It's a very exciting step for me. I'm following 2 legends in John Cutso and Ralph King, and all they've done for this league. They are the league. John's been involved and Ralph's been involved for over 50 years. So I'm looking forward to next year working side by side with John, and then take over the following year. So I got a whole good year of training to have under John. I'm looking forward to that.
And what are the challenges right off the bat? Like, what does your mind go to as you start thinking about taking over this position?
Well, it's keeping the ship afloat. I mean, we have a very good league, as you're aware. Well, it's competitive. We're in the forefront of many things that happen in the state as far as, how we do our league. And we were the first league ever to have a website. We just want to keep moving forward. I think there's an incredible amount of experience working around us in the board of directors. With the members that we have there, the veteran athletic directors, I'm going to rely a lot on them as John did with the past years. We all work together, and it's I'm hoping to have the leadership of keeping this league being the best one in the state.
It certainly is. To me, it's been a great league. I've been a part of it for a long time now, and I've watched what it's become and how it's grown, and it certainly seems like it's going in the right direction. Of course, there was some craziness over the last couple of weeks, as you are probably aware, Dave, and I'm sure today I'm sure you're breathing a little easier
I'm
today.
Sure, I'm glad that's been, moving forward. We met today. We had our executive meeting. We had the executive secretary of the CIAC with Carissa and Steve down, and talked a lot about this and the future of direction of football and where it's going. So those things will come up, and it's just like they talked about. It's the importance of communication, and that's what we're going to really work on to continue a good open dialogue with everyone involved in the football program.
Is there a way that we can keep the FCAC championship alive beyond the 50th? I mean, can you see that far ahead and find a way to keep it going?
Well, we're kind of, our hands are tied. If the state, if the state is mandating 10 games, and if our coaches go along with playing 9 and having our 10th game be the FCAC championship game, we could keep it going. Who's to say the state might not turn around and say, okay, you can only play 9 games. There are other states that play 8 games in their season. So we don't have the crystal ball to see where direction they're going to go. They talked in depth about the medical community and their concerns. As we talked in depth today about, the CIAC saying, okay, we're going to play 10 games, but we're going to play a quarterfinal, semifinal, and championship game in 12 days on the CIAC level. And we were really concerned about that for our teams that play in those games, which we, usually have a couple that make that far. And they're playing 3 hard-hitting football games in 12 days. So there's a lot of work has to be done in football on the state and obviously the trickle-down effect to the league level. But, I think we're really putting together a solid committee, adjunct committee to really examine where we should go with this. And that'll probably be what we'll be working on in depth next year.
I asked Dave Stewart this yesterday. I'll ask it to you. Have you determined who's going to be on that committee?
No, not yet. No,
okay.
We just kind of got this part done, that we're moving forward to, and we'll work on that next. Because we are at this point we are settled into what we need for next year. So it's not like we are in, a great need of getting things going right now. But it will be done this summer.
And I would imagine there's a bit of a challenge there in that there's this thinking that there's the big 4 in the FCAC, fairly or unfairly. I would think for you and for the folks putting this committee together, you want to be as equitable as possible.
Absolutely. That's your goal. It's about the kids. It's for them. We want to make these decisions with their safety in mind, and with their goals for playing football in mind. So it's going to be some good discussions, and I'm looking forward to being part of that. As I work side by side with John.
In the here and now, Dave, you've got some great tournaments coming up. The softball tournament, I was saying to Mike Suppy a little earlier, I think the baseball tournament's going to be outstanding right here in the spring. I think spring sports is going to be just fun to watch from an FCAC perspective.
Absolutely. These are great tournaments. I've been, involved in running the softball one, and we have a great venue over at Sacred Heart University. It's just top shelf. And our baseball going down to Harbor Yard is an exciting venue for them to play in. And, lacrosse in this part of the state has always been top, number 1. So it's going to be a great both girls and boys lacrosse championships.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a great finish to what's been a fun-filled school year, and all of a sudden we'll be getting ready for football right after that. It's amazing how the time does fly.
No. Yeah, once you hit that April vacation, when you come back from April vacation and the spring sports are, about a third of the way through, it just flies.
Now, how about the balance for you? Because, you're going to be the executive secretary in a year from now, but what about Fairfield-Ludlow as well? Is there a balance? Can you do both? I mean, how does that work?
Well, no, my plan is after next year to retire from public education. I'll have 38 years in the Fairfield, all in the Fairfield school system between teaching and athletics director. So I will be retiring following the completion of next year's school year, and then be able to devote my attention full time to the ESCAC.
I'll say this, and Dave didn't say it, I will. Not only an athletic director, as he said, a teacher also, but I remember the years when you were one heck of a basketball coach as well.
Well, that was my passion. I love coaching basketball. I love watching it still and being involved with it. And thank you for that nice compliment. But I had great people coaching with me and great kids to work with in Fairfield. I've been blessed.
Well, Dave, we really appreciate a few minutes of your time. I don't want to keep you too long, but come back on the program again and let's talk more. Certainly there are happier things about the FCAC than talking about the silliness over the past few weeks, and we certainly like talking up the FCAC with you.
I appreciate that. I look forward to doing it.
All right, Dave. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Thank you very much for having me on.
All right, anytime.
Okay,
Take
bye-bye.
care. Dave Schultz, the athletic director, currently at Fairfield-Ludlow. But, as I suspected, Mike, he will retire once he moves into the executive secretary role.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably something that you want to have your focus being on. And I know the life of an athletic director is a harried one. And have to worry about, wearing both hats could be tough. So, I mean, hey, he said, 38 years in? 38. Probably about that time.
No, he's a good guy. I've known him very informally for a long time now, going back to those days when he was the head basketball coach at Fairfield. There was no Ward, there was no Ludlow. He was Fairfield Mustang basketball and had some great teams there at Fairfield before, now it's Fairfield Ward. That's what it became, for those who don't know, and that's going back about a decade now when they split the two schools up. We'll take a timeout here at 2:44. Mike and I rolling along on a good show. We've got some things we can bounce around when we return to Nutmeg Sports for a Tuesday on HANradio.com and streaming live along the Hersom Acorn Network.
Spring is finally in the air and our favorite season is upon us. The Dock Shop is all geared up with a great selection of fishing tackle, custom fishing rods, and all the latest accessories to replenish your tackle box. The Dock Shop has also just brought out the newest spring fashion apparel from Montauk Tackle, Altered Latitudes, Kaylee Smith, and Margaritaville Apparel. Need some new foul weather gear for those chilly spring mornings? The Dock Shop is loaded up with Grundens and Stormer in a variety of styles and sizes. Ladies, we've got you covered as well with spring apparel and the newest designs of coastal jewelry, bags, and accessories. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, Connecticut. Visit us at dockshop.com.
Did you know that taking dance lessons is a great date night idea? Arthur Murray Grand Ballroom of Greenwich is a fabulous place to learn to dance and meet new people. Located at 6 Lewis Street, our studio is staffed with professional instructors ready to teach you salsa, waltz, rumba, hustle, tango. There's a dance for every season, and we are rated #1 on the knot.com. We are the wedding dance specialists. Take advantage of our new student offer, only $49. Call 203-769-1800. Visit us online at arthurmurraygreenwich.com.
Does advertising on HANradio.com work? Just ask Coastal Orthopedics. They ran spots with us, and within 24 hours, they had 21 walk-ins and 8 calls to their new immediate care center. To advertise on HANradio.com, call 203-417-5199 and ask for Marianne Hersom.
You're listening to Hersom Acorn Radio.
Back with you on Nutmeg Sports at 2:47, listening to something off the air that was kind of fun to bounce around, but nothing we can get into. Nothing lascivious, just, listening to some other broadcasting that's always fun to listen to, okay? 2:47, diet beverages aside, we come back here, Mike Suppy and I'm Rob Adams. Happy you're along. I mentioned it during Nutmeg Sports, and I want to spend another minute on it because there are icons, and then there are icons, and then there is Yogi Berra, who turned 90 years old today. And I know Yogi's health is slowly beginning to fail, but I also heard he's going to be at the Yogi Berra Museum today to celebrate his 90th birthday, which I'm ashamed to say I have never been to, out in Montclair, New Jersey.
I've never been there either, but I've heard it's a nice place from people that have been there, but I'd like to get out there too eventually.
Yeah, there's a stadium right there where a baseball team plays, in fact, at Yogi Berra Stadium. They are a Can-Am team, which locally for us, there's one in Rockland County, New York as well. About the closest you get is the Rockland Boulders, and then, of course, the New Jersey Jackals are both in the Can-Am. And I'd love to go see it. I'd love to go walk around the museum. I'm horrified to hear that they actually had a robbery there not that long ago in which some of Yogi, and it's all Yogi's, and other donated items, but a lot of Yogi's personal stuff, his rings and uniforms and things like that, and some of that unfortunately got stolen not all that long ago. Some of it's been replaced with makeups by the Yankees, and of course the Yankee Yogi relationship was a very difficult one for a long, long time. Now, of course, Yogi comes to the Yankees in 1946. He's a September call-up, and they see something special in this squatty little kid coming out of St. Louis, Missouri, where he grew up with Joe Garagiola, for those who don't know. And many know the name Joe Garagiola because he was on the Today Show for all those years and did a show here and a show there. But Joe was a pretty decent baseball player in his own right, also a catcher, and then became a famed broadcaster with NBC and the Yankees for a long time. He was with the Yankees, called Mickey Mantle's 500th home run before going to NBC, where he was part of the Today Show, as I mentioned, and all these other things. He's a Ford Frick Award winner as broadcast excellence in the Hall of Fame. But Yogi comes up in 46 and doesn't even wear his familiar number 8 off the bat. He's trained by Bill Dickey, who people often forget what a great Hall of Fame catcher Bill Dickey was from the tail end of the Ruth era, coming up, I believe, in 1929 to play with Gehrig later. He and Gehrig were very close, both kind of teetotaler type of guys. Not entirely, but you get the idea. Very straight-laced, Bill Dickey and Lou Gehrig. Dickey taught Yogi how to catch, and boy, Yogi took it from there. I think, for my money, Dickey was a great catcher, and I think people forget that. Yogi's probably number 2 to Johnny Bench.
Yeah, 18-time All-Star. He was, renowned for being his defensive catching ability and just his all-around play. The guy's 3-time AL MVP. He's one of the best ever, no doubt about that.
You mentioned that. And I'd forgotten about this. He wins the AL MVP in 51, 54, and 55. Now, the thing about 54, the Yankees only win 103 games. Now, you're saying, wait a minute, they only win 103 games? The Cleveland Indians won 111 games, and Berra still wins the MVP. He wins it again in 55, as I mentioned. He swears, by the way, speaking of 55, and Rachel Robinson, the widow of Jackie Robinson, even wrote this in the Daily News as a little note to Yogi. They still, when Rachel Robinson and Yogi Berra see each other, they don't even say hello. The first things they say to each other is safe and out, a result of a Game 1 stolen base attempt of home in 1955. The video to me looks like Jackie Robinson is out by a country mile, and Yogi will always say he was out, but the umpire called him safe.
Hey, and that's what goes down in history there. Yankees have benefited from some of those calls in World Series play.
Absolutely. It does go both ways for sure, and we could highlight plenty of those. But Yogi, of course, not only iconic, and he was going to be a Hall of Famer regardless of his, what he did off the field. On the field, he was a wonderful baseball player, 358 home runs, which was a lot for a catcher. In latter days, we hear about the Mike Piazzas, who was just offensively brilliant, and we can put aside the debate of what he took to make him brilliant. That's part of the era, unfortunately. But Yogi was an absolutely brilliant baseball player, and the best, everyone says he was the best bad ball hitter you'll ever see. The Robbie Jones home run was a high fastball that he essentially tomahawked yesterday. Yogi Berra hit those regularly. He loved that high pitch.
Yeah, and in more of a latter day comparison, hit it. So I don't think Yogi's one that he doesn't want to hear about the OPS and Moneyball and stuff like that.
No.
It's see ball, hit ball, and the guy. I think the craziest stat about him, he's 15 straight seasons with receiving MVP votes, second only to Barry Bonds. Tied with Barry Bonds and second to Hank Aaron, who got 19 years of an MVP vote.
And that's exactly what I'm coming back to is, I mentioned the 3 MVPs, as Mike said as well. Third in 1950, wins it in 51, fourth in 52, second in 53, wins it in 54, wins it in 55, second in 56. I have a pretty good grasp on baseball history. I don't know if there's ever been a better stretch than that.
No, I mean, he's playing on the same team as Mickey Mantle and Joe D. So, I mean, they're obviously taking votes away from him there. And it's just, I mean, it's insane what he's done in his career. And I don't think he's recognized on that level, and maybe he should be. People know him for, the Yogi-isms and, that his feuds with Steinbrenner. But, I mean, they got to go back and look at the stats this guy was putting up at, in the 50s.
But you're right. You bring up the fact that he plays with DiMaggio from 47 down to 51, and DiMaggio's last year is 51. That's Mantle's first year. Mantle goes on and wins an MVP in 56. Who was second? Yogi Berra. Mantle had a triple crown in 56 with 52 home runs. I mean, it's mind-boggling. 57, I'm not sure if Mantle wins it again. I think Ted Williams won it in 57. But again, now Yogi's 14th in the voting, which isn't off the charts. But again, as Mike said, look at every single year he's getting all these MVP votes. And then later on, not only does Mantle win another MVP, Maris wins MVPs in 60 and 61. Ellie Howard wins in 62, and I think Mantle gets one more in 63. What I'm saying is the Yankees' dominance, not only with the championships from the 50s into the early 60s, but their dominance in the MVP voting is just, we'll never see that again.
No, and this is a time when the writers that voted actually watched all the games and didn't just give hometown votes to swing the, to swing the ballot one way. I mean, those MVPs were earned. Where nowadays I think they're more not as well deserved sometimes with some of the guys that win it.
No, I think there's some truth to that. I want to look at that 56 voting just for the fun of it. Yogi gets 186 votes. Al Kaline was third with 142. Now, Kaline hit 314, 27 homers, 128 runs batted in. Yogi goes 3105, and that's with a 298 average. But, I mean, Mantle won this award running away with 336 votes, including all 24 first-place votes. Mantle only does this. These are insane numbers. In 150 games, 188 hits, 52 home runs, 130 runs batted in, and he hits 353 for a slugger. And he stole 10 bases, which Mantle will himself tell you that, and I know he wrote this in a book, when there was a time when, of course, Jose Canseco, the first 40-40 in 1987 or 88, actually, it was a remarkable accomplishment for the time. Mantle said he could pretty much do that every year, but Casey Stengel wouldn't let him run that freely.
No, and I mean, imagine if he did.
He'd be 30. Mantle said he'd be 30-30 every year.
Yeah,
and he would be.
I wouldn't disagree. Another interesting about that 56 season, Herb Score, 263 strikeouts, doesn't get any awards because there's no AL Cy Young that year.
That's right. There was a shared Cy Young, I think.
Won by Don Newcomb.
Right, won by Don Newcomb, who had a great year for the Brooklyn Dodgers. No, they don't get that broken up for a few more years after that. But, back to Yogi, we talk about the Yogi-isms, and I mentioned during coffee break, I think everybody knows the name Yogi Berra. From the Yoo-Hoo commercials through just being Yogi himself and the Yogi-isms, of course. Everybody knows Yogi. You have to.
Yeah, he's a transcendent personality. Just, he goes beyond the sport that he was famous for playing, and people just know who he is.
No, without a doubt. In fact, I posted some Yogi-isms on my Facebook page earlier today that I thought would be worth just, running down quickly as we get ready to wrap up the show. And one other thing I'll spend a moment on before we say goodbye, but here's the group that were listed, the quote-unquote top 10 Yogi-isms. Number 10, you can observe a lot by watching. Number 9, I knew the record would stand until it was broken. Number 8, I really didn't say everything I said. Then again, I might have said them, but you never know. Number 7, if the world was perfect, it wouldn't be. Number 6, it's so crowded nobody goes there. Number 5, it gets late early out there. Number 4, if you don't know where you're going, you might not get there. Number 3, I love this one. Number 3, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. Number 2 and number 1 are easy. It's deja vu all over again. And, of course, we all know number 1. You could all say it with me. It ain't over till it's over. The great Yogi Berra, 90 years old today. And, Yogi, keep him going for sure.
90 more.
Yeah, you are absolutely beloved in this world and in the world of sports for sure. And I'm sure there's a lot of tributes being paid to a good man today. Lawrence Peter Yogi Berra, the pride of the hill in St. Louis. And not to be forgotten, a National League championship winning manager in 1973 with the You Gotta Believe Metsies of Tug McGraw, Tom Seaver, and so on, which was a fun baseball team that honestly had no business being in the World Series that year. They went up against a phenomenal Reds team in the 73 ALCS, and of course the great dust-up with Buddy Harrelson, but that was the big red machine, and somehow the Mets did beat them. As I watch a Mets and Red fan tangle off to my left, go on and play in the World Series and take the Oakland A's, who were in the middle of a three-peat, take the A's to the 7th game of the World Series. And that's the one knock on Yogi. Didn't pitch Tom Seaver in Game 7.
I mean, anytime you have Tom Terrific and you don't use him and there's a doubt in their mind that he could be used, it's probably the wrong decision. But, I wasn't there to paraphrase another famous talk radio personality. But, I mean, Tom Seaver, you got to give him the ball probably.
I thought you were going to say goodnight the lights or something else. As we finish today's show, Bill Bloxham will be here tomorrow. Love working with Mike, and I hope he keeps coming back all the time. Dave Stewart as well, and hopefully we build a rotation of these guys because they're all great. And I don't forget about Tim Murphy and Rocco and JB and Steve and, all the great sports editors we have here. What I'm getting at here today is this is the end of the first anniversary of Nutmeg Sports, which, to be honest, I didn't pay a lot of mind to when the day started. It was the great Sean Saylor who actually tweeted a note to me this morning, which I'm eternally grateful for. And then it struck me that maybe I should spend a moment and just talk about it. It's been a fun year. It's been a year of building this show and, kind of how we're designing it. We balance mostly local, a little bit of national like we just did with Yogi and a few other things, the Deflategate thing, and we'll continue to touch on all that, and hopefully we continue to expand it. The likes of Chris Callan have contributed with his Along the Fence programming that I hope he continues to bring. We've added the video as we've gone along, but of course on this day, I can't not talk about Nutmeg Sports after a year and not mention my buddy Paul Silverfarb, who has since moved on from us, but Paul was right there at the very beginning when I was given the opportunity to start a show. I asked Paul to join it. He actually named it Nutmeg Sports. So I wanted to spend a moment and certainly say thanks to Paul and thanks to all these guys because these sports editors, every single one of them, and I named all of them for you just a moment ago, they help get me guests. They help feed me ideas. They help build this show to be what it is, and it'll get even better as we move further into not only what we're doing with the video, but into year number 2. So thanks to Mike, thanks to all of these guys, and, spend a moment on it. Away we go on year number 2.
We're building it up like a wrestling stable.
And to that point, we will take a timeout. I'll come back. We'll hand it off to John Kovach with another news update as we continue right here. We'll extend Nutmeg Sports just a tad here on HANradio.com.
Spring is finally in the air, and our favorite season is upon us. The Dock Shop is all geared up with a great selection of fishing tackle, custom fishing rods, and all the latest accessories to replenish your tackle box. The Dock Shop has also just brought out the newest spring fashion apparel from Montauk Tackle, Altered Latitudes, Kaylee Smith, and Margaritaville Apparel. Need some new foul weather gear for those chilly spring mornings? The Dock Shop is loaded up with Grundens and Stormer in a variety of styles and sizes. Ladies, we've got you covered as well with spring apparel and the newest designs of coastal jewelry, bags, and accessories. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, Connecticut. Visit us at dockshop.com.
Located in the heart of picturesque downtown Ridgefield at 13 Governor Street, Colby's is the area's premier retailer for blinds, shades, shutters, and draperies, and is one of the select few Hunter Douglas Gallery dealers. A family-owned and operated company, Colby's experienced staff will work with you in choosing the best treatments for your home or office and offer free measuring and expert installation. Colby's also carries an extensive line of decorative fabrics including Schumacher, Durley, Tebow, and more. Or browse over 400 books in our wallpaper library from famous designers such as Stroheim, Schumacher, Ralph Lauren, Tebow, and York. Take advantage of our Fashion in Motion savings event with savings and rebates on Hunter Douglas shades with Power Rise technology. Colby's of Ridgefield. We are committed to your complete satisfaction. 203-438-8531.
It's Lots of Characters, specializing in children's birthday parties with your child's favorite characters. When you want to party hardy, when you need to celebrate, call us, we won't be late. We help create lasting memories for you and your child on their special day. Call us at 203-590-1791 or visit our website at lotsofcharacters.org for more information and to see our party packages. Lots of Characters, 203-590-1791 or online at lotsofcharacters.org.
Hersom Acorn and HANradio.com.
Back with you a little bit past 3 here on Nutmeg Sports, 3:03 on a Tuesday afternoon. We'll turn things over to John Kovach in just a moment, but just as important, worth mentioning, John and Mike, this is not only the first anniversary of Nutmeg Sports, but I'm also grateful that we've got great people working behind the cameras and behind the controls today. Josh Fisher, Tracy Iazi, both back there. And the birthday girl, Jenny Klein.
Happy birthday, Jenny.
Who now is cursing at me. With that said...
you might want to keep this on the air a while to avoid getting yelled at.
Or give her a chance to get out of the room before I get beaten. 3:04, we turn things over for a news update to John Kovach. John?
Thanks, Rob. And it has been a afternoon filled with breaking news here in Southern Connecticut. According to the Hour of Norwalk, Westport police are investigating an incident in which an alleged intruder with a gun was spotted at a Friends of the Israel Defense Forces luncheon at Temple Israel in Westport. Reports are that Coleytown Elementary School and Coleytown Middle School were both put on lockdown around 1 o'clock. That lockdown was lifted about 45 minutes later. There are reports in the hour of a scuffle in the room at some point, of shouts from people to call 911. Westport police have not commented yet to anyone on this situation, saying that it is an ongoing investigation. In Stamford, police have peacefully resolved a standoff at a boarding house at the corner of Waverly Place and Fairfield Avenue this morning. Police responded to reports of a man waving a gun. When police arrived, he barricaded himself inside. Neighboring streets were closed. The man was led from the building shortly before noon. And Ansonia police have announced that they are investigating an assault last night around 8:30. They just announced it this afternoon. The incident occurred May 9th around 8:30 p.m. on 4th Street near North Main Street. Police investigating a report of an assault found a man behind a market on North Main Street with obvious signs he had been assaulted. They say he sustained facial wounds, lacerations, puncture wounds to his upper torso and arms. He said he had been sitting in Liberty Park when he was attacked by a group of young men after he refused to give them money. The 45-year-old victim, an Ansonia resident, was able to identify two of his attackers. He was taken to Griffin Hospital. Police said none of his injuries were life-threatening. No weapons were recovered at the scene, but money and a cell phone were taken from the man. Two males were taken into custody, a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old, both from Ansonia. They have been charged with first-degree robbery, second-degree larceny, first-degree assault. They're due at juvenile court in Waterbury on May 22nd. With that, I'll turn it back over to Rob.
All right, John, thank you very much. And Mike, great show today. Thanks for your time as well.
Thanks for having me.
Have to bring a little birthday music in here for the birthday girl as we get ready to say goodbye. We thank you for listening to Nutmeg Sports for this Tuesday afternoon. And again, happy birthday to Jenny, as well as happy birthday to Yogi Berra, and happy birthday to you if it's your birthday as well. On that note, for all of us here at HANradio.com, I'm Rob Adams. Thanks to Dave Schultz, as well as Ralph Franco for coming on. We're back with you tomorrow. Bill Bloxham will be in the seat alongside of me. And, of course, we'll have Coffee Break getting you started tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. But for everyone, I'm Rob Adams. Happy birthday, Jenny. Have a good night, everyone.
Yabba dabba 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 doo.
Hersom Acorn and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in Southwestern Connecticut.
Want to get in touch with HAN Radio? You can find us on Twitter at Hersom Radio, on Facebook at Hersom Acorn Radio, or email us at radio@hersomacorn.com.
Next. 5, 5, 4.